Hey, hey, hey. So glad that you are on with us today. We got a few seconds before we get started, and I love to just continue just what we are doing today. Hey, hey. I'm so glad to see you today. Welcome to Kairos Culture. It's where we believe that we are a podcast that has a unique experience that shares all about being a faithful presence in a beautiful, messy world. We believe that Kairos is a disruption in time when God comes near us and elicits a response. We are unapologetically followers of Jesus, unapologetically black, and all we want is spontaneous, curious, uh, curated conversations that constantly speak well of our time and what's happening in life. Listen, I'm so excited today for what we are doing. How you doing? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope we get a chance to speak to one another. If you have any comments or any thoughts, I really would love for you to chime in and speak, just to kind of tell us where you're at, what you're thinking. Today we are still in a time of talking about Lent in a way and why Lent. But I have other things that I want to share about and kind of talk about too. There's a lot going on in the world, and I don't know if we're having the same kind of conversations when it comes to my Asian and Pacific Islander brothers. Some of the stuff is coming at East Asian brothers, particularly Chinese. Ain't nobody messing right now with my Pacific Islander brothers. They ain't gonna run up on one of them. But I think it's interesting we are having these conversations. But before we get started, let's do a little bit of this, what we are talking about on Lent, and that is number one, we're talking about generosity. And I don't know about you, but generosity is important to at least to what I believe and to what I think faith is all about. What are you doing? What are we doing about generosity? What's your most prized possessions? It might be the most valuable thing you own, like the house you have, maybe it's somewhere you work, but it could also be a photo from someone special. It could be a thing, a place, an item. It could be a whole lot of different things, or it could be something just meaningful from a friend. The value we assign to things is tangled up with our emotions, how we choose to use the things we cherish most reveal our true priorities. What's your priorities? What does it look like? What I used to talk about is that Jesus' death on the cross is one of the greatest examples of God's generosity. And I think in the middle of God's generosity, I think we need to talk about what does it mean to cherish something, to give to something. Despite knowing we could never repay it, God does this. He doesn't hesitate to give us his greatest treasure, his only son for us. And through this sacrificial act, he demonstrated what generosity looks like. He demonstrates what it means to give, to just willingly offer up what we have so that someone else can survive, so someone else can thrive, even if it causes us pain in the process. See, you don't have to give something financial to practice generosity. Living generously simply acknowledges that God is able to do anything he wants through a gift he has given us. When you let God give through you, you honor him. You honor him with what you're giving. And you honor him with what draws you closer to him. You say, generosity flows out of a thankful and trusting heart. And when you trust God with what you have, you start to trust, he starts to trust you with more. I think what we need to do is practice more this habit of just giving generously out of what we have, not out of the wealth and the beauty of what we have. And this habit should remind you that you're not in control, but you know the one who is in control of it all. And he can provide for all you need. Let's take this action. One of Jesus' most famous miracles involves making the most out of a few loaves of fish someone had to offer. What do you have to give? Try finding a place where you can invest, where you can give, and give totally from what you have, out of some deep well that you have. Start small, go big, but I would just say this, just start. That's generosity, y'all. So as a part of Lent, I want to give that piece out. Now, here's something that I think we could be talking about. There's an interesting space that we are in right now, and I think we can really begin to start talking differently about a few things. And number one, there's a lot of hurt that's going on in today's culture and today's society. And I think we need to lean into a new space. I don't know about you, but there's a lot going on. And we need to begin to lean in with one another. I was spending some time with a friend today, and me and Pastor Sebastian Ong, and Steve Hong, who I would call friends of mine. I want to say that our city is in trouble. There's some issues we need to deal with. And one of the issues we need to deal with is some of the things that are happening, particularly with our Asian brothers and sisters. I'm one of those guys who says, stop Asian hate. I filled out that hashtag, but I've filled out a lot of different hashtags. I think it's time to go beyond the hashtag because there are real lives behind the hashtags. Come on, Black Lives Matter. There are real lives behind the hashtag. And some of us just want to throw them up and throw something out. I think we need to really stand, lament, deal with, practice, hold on to, and not look to really be in a hurry to, I know this might sound crazy, be in a hurry to heal. Maybe we just need to be in a hurry to listen. I think what's happening nowadays is it feels like some people are beginning to feel like areas of one-upness, like my pain is greater than your pain, or my pain is this or that. Well, I want to tell you, pain is pain, no matter where it comes from, no matter who it comes from. And I think it's time to figure out ways to heal our city. And the number one way to heal the city is to first listen and be present. Some people may ask if I post certain slogans or statements, I don't usually, but I have. I stand with my Asian brothers and sisters and Pacific Islanders. I stand with my Latinx, Latina brothers and sisters. I stand with my Native brothers and sisters. I stand with my Middle Eastern and Eastern Indian descent brothers and sisters. See, people are more than just the slogans, even though I have written some of the slogans myself. There are real people, real families behind the stories. Some of these stories are targets of hatred, they're targets of violence, and they're targets of mass killings. I want to say I stand against that hate, regardless of it seems there, who it comes from. I don't dismiss the slogans because not all wounds are the same. I understand that as well. There's a lot of hurt. There's a lot of pain. But let's heal each other by addressing each other's hurts, by standing in the gap, by acknowledging and addressing each community's concerns. I think it's time that we listen better. Some of the stuff that has happened recently in the Asian community, and particularly in California, there's something interesting happening in California. And I don't know what it is, but I think we are being discipled differently in our churches. I think we're being discipled, many of us, towards white supremacy, to white colonized version of the gospel. I think we're struggling to really be more than these, not just the hashtags, but to say that we're more than just these static things. It's hard. Living a discipled life is more than just calling out sexual sins and things that other people are doing and having and pointing out other people's things. It is deeper. Some of it should be pointing into us. What are the things that we're dealing with? Me personally. It's time for a new way to look at stuff. With that being said, I do say stop Asian hate. For those that we know and love and are part of our communities, this nation has a history of painful things. I don't know about you, but have you looked? Have you really looked at our history? Come on now, look at our history, y'all. Most of what we learned in high school and middle school, it's a hyper United States theme. It's telling us something that's trying to be pointed in the right direction to look at America through rose-colored glasses. But the truth is, United States, they've been into stuff. Come on, let's tell the truth. Shoot, in 1885, there's 150 white miners in Rock Spring, Wyoming, brutally attacked some Chinese co-workers, lynching, wounding 15 others, but killing 28 because of what was going on with Chinese miners. Come on, let's tell the truth. Watsonville. For those who don't know, Watsonville, right there in California, right down the way from where we are in San Francisco. But it really has been a real interesting space because I believe it was 1928, that there was Mexican and Japanese, Chinese and Filipino brothers and sisters who were being robbed of their wages. Like they They really were doing the work, and all the white miners were making the money. And basically, what happened during that time is a mob attacked them. 1930. Up to 500 white brothers and sisters attacked a group of Filipinos in Watsonville. Attacked their farm, attacked their town, attacked their men because they found their men dancing with white women. This is not necessarily it's being hidden in plain sight, but this kind of thing has been happening for a long time. Also, for those who don't know, in 1871, what has happened here locally, that in 1871, 17 Chinese men and boys were caught, singled out, and attacked. Attacked because of their Asian ethnicity. And we don't even have to bring up, let's bring it up anyway, but Angel Island and Japanese and Chinese internment camps. Listen, it is time for us to be honest about our history. The truth is, we can't have an honest conversation about history until we tell the truth. And until we have a shared history, we don't have a shared destiny. I'm not going to talk a lot today. I'm going to give it a rest, but I just felt like we needed to say some of this. Some of these issues have been happening for a long time. It's nothing new. But we need to speak truth and be honest about it. Listen, how do we reach out? How do we become better at it? I think it's time to listen. Let the generosity of Lent be, let me be generous in my listening. Let me be generous in my time to listen to history, pay attention to history. Let me hear the stories of pain and brokenness. Let me be generous with how I see others. Because the truth, we've been othering people for a long time. That's part of the colonization of our faith, that it sets a standard to otherize people. Let's don't do it. Let's do something different. Listen, like I said, thank you for being with us. Thank you for listening. I hope there's some things that we could talk about later, and maybe we could go beyond just listening. Let's be present with one another. This is Kairos Kulture with Kirk Davis. Let's disrupt moments that are unhealthy and ask for how God is asking us to stand near to elicit a response from us. Let's be unapologetically followers of Jesus. Let's be unapologetically human and listen to one another. Appreciate you. God bless you. Let's stop it right there. Appreciate you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.